Leeds United have been having a fairly strong transfer window so far, getting 7 players in, a lot of them very, very decent quality players, and building the squad so it's ready for the Premier League. However, there have been a couple of little slip-ups, a couple of little stories that have come out from time to time that, in my opinion, have revealed Leeds United's biggest transfer weakness. And it's something that we need to keep an eye on, potentially resolve going forwards, and ultimately I'll sort of cover what it could mean for us in the long term and how we potentially fix it. But before I do so, truly appreciate if you could just pop a like on the video or subscribe if you're not yet. Whatever you can do to help would be massively appreciated, because I'm trying to keep the channel sort of growing and growing and coming on, and it'd be great to have as many people on board as possible. Thank you. Anyway, into the main topic of the video, and we know that Leeds United have gotten a lot of business done, but we also know that Leeds United have missed a lot of targets. And I think there is one fairly significant reason that we've missed a couple of those targets and may miss a couple more. So I'll use the Igor Paixão deal as a sort of core starting point for this discussion. And then I will dance my way through some other conversations, have a little bit of a chat about Alcanus, and then we'll get on to how we actually fix this problem. And the problem itself very specifically arose with the Paixão deal, in that Leeds aren't that in the trenches and play the media game, which is a little bit of a shame. If you look at what happened step by step in the Paixão deal, Leeds were interested and Marseille were interested. And then story after story after story after story would come out from the French side, would come out specifically from L'Équipe and other sort of media outlets that were over in France, and they would get re-reported by ones in the UK. You knew that was the order of events because it was reported over there first, and then it would get picked up by English journalists, which, fair enough, cool. That's how things work sometimes, but it was every single time. And that sort of gave the idea that Marseille were playing the player significantly better than we were. They were getting a message across to both Feyenoord and Paixão saying, look, we'll happily stay in this race, in addition to, hey, Paixão, we're still here, after various bids failed. It was a very out there and open way of, rather than just making club statements, leak the right things to the right media outlet at the right time, and you'll start to look like you're actually knowing what you're doing rather than looking like you're building a team of convicts. Marseille. Anyway, and the reason that I was sort of prompted to make this video was it looks like a similar thing is potentially happening with Bilal El-Khanous, sorry, where the news came out earlier today from a Belgian journalist that Leeds going to trigger the release clause on El-Khanous's contract, which is £24.5 million. There were meetings between Leeds United and the player, not Leeds and Leicester, because that doesn't happen until Leeds are just going to pay the release clause, as far as I'm aware. But it was weird that the story came out, and it was weird the specifics of the details that did come out. So something that I noticed was, A, there was discussion on the fact that Leeds were willing to pay the release clause straight out. There was no sort of question mark over Leeds have an interest and all that bollocks that tends to come in a transfer story. It was just straight up, Leeds are willing to pay the release clause. And then release clause being £24.5 million, which is very, very... It's a specific bit of information for a journalist to know, considering that until now, according to Locks and various other Leicester fans, they weren't aware of the release clause properly existing in the first place. And then there's the inclusion of, we also have interest from Crystal Palace and RB Leipzig, who haven't yet made a bid. If you have a look at that tweet, and you have a look at the fact that it came from a Belgian journalist, where the player's last club was over in Belgium, you start to build a picture of the player's agents are just trying to drum up that interest from Palace, from RB Leipzig, to force a move somewhere. Whether or not they bid on time is a big question mark. But that's what they're trying to do here. And that makes it a very, very interesting topic of conversation in my mind, because we're not the ones playing that media game again. We've done things very quietly. We had no idea that the El-Khanous thing was really happening until we approach and go, okay, we'll put £24.5 million on the table. Do you want to have a conversation? That's not come out of our end. Again, it's come out of another side, specifically the players in this case. And I think in this case, again, that could be an indicator, instead of being to a player this time, to a different club, you act fast or Leeds United get me. Which is another case that could squeeze us a bit, and it could lead to the loss of a player again. So when we're talking about Leeds United's biggest weakness, and we know that we say the whole Leeds likes to move in silence kind of thing, and I like that idea. I like the idea that we're getting things done without screaming and shouting about it. We're just doing our business efficiently. But we're not taking advantages of the positions where we're in a little bit more power than other club and other player. We just don't do that. We don't seize the advantage. In this case, what could be an excellent thing to do is say, Leeds have triggered the release clause and now they're waiting on the player. That takes the onus off Leeds United and it says, look, do your thing now. And it shows that Leeds have done everything that they want to do, but we don't brief the media in that way. And there's that little bit of me that thinks back to the Spurs documentary and thinks back to a line from Jose Mourinho, and it's the famous one. It's be a C word that gets me demonetized. And if we were willing to do that a little bit more often, we could really take the lead in these transfer discussions. And we could really sort of grip the narrative a bit more and not be in a position where fans are immediately panicking the moment a deal falls through, because we know what's happened throughout and we've not just got on the opposite side of the story. From a PR perspective, it's probably better for the club to do this. I agree, from a negotiations perspective, quietness is probably beneficial. But when negotiations start going slightly awry, why are we not trying to grab that narrative right away in the same way that Marseille did, in the same way that El Canoes is trying to? Because if we do that, we put ourselves in the perfect spot to very, very genuinely, properly get the deals that we want to do done. And it's a weird strategy side thing, but it's something that I think I would probably suggest that we do. In terms of like the window itself, by the way, to be completely clear, I'm very happy with it so far. But I think we could turn it from that 9 out of 10 into the 10 out of 10 if we were willing to get a little bit down and dirty with it. Sadly, we're not at the moment, but who knows? Maybe it'll happen going forwards. Anyway, as always, that is all just what I think. Let me know what you think about the entire thing in the comment section below. Also down there, let me know sort of what you want to see in terms of like matchday vloggy stuff for either the coming season or just for the Villarreal match. Because I'm going to the Villarreal match and I want to sort of film something on the way over. But if there's anything that people want to see that isn't just your standard matchday vlog fare, happy to do so. Subscribe if you haven't as well, and like the video. And yeah, also be a channel member, $2.99 a month, and you get videos like this one early. Not super early, but early enough for it to feel good, I suppose. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo.